aliens called for aid, and the Deathworlders sent their entire fleet. In the cool, prismatic halls of the Crystalloid High Command, Supreme Commander ZYXTAL shimmered with nervous energy, their crystalline limbs clinking faintly against the polished floor. The Crystalloids were not, by nature, a boisterous race. They moved with the elegance and precision of a well-oiled machine, each individual a perfect shard of the collective society, dedicated to maintaining the stability of the galaxy's most advanced network of hypercrystal star drives. So when the waste reclamation system on Station 78 Delta went down, ZYXTAL did what any logical-minded crystalloid would do. They sent a simple, straightforward request for maintenance. The message, though, was hardly the kind of thing meant to shake up the galaxy, just a small note, really a polite call for a technical assessment. Transmission to United Earth Maintenance Fleet, from Crystalloid High Command, Supreme Commander ZYXTAL. Subject, request for immediate maintenance assistance. Details, waste reclamation system down, possibly clogged. Request, engineer dispatch. Urgency, standard priority. For ZYXTAL, that was all it took. They envisioned a single, capable technician arriving with a modest toolkit and a quick solution, the kind of quiet, efficient service the crystalloid species prized. But across the galaxy, things were different on Earth. Humans, the so-called Deathworlders, as many alien species dubbed them, had developed a reputation for being enthusiastic. Their technology was advanced, if rudimentary, by crystalloid standards, but it was their sheer determination, their unpredictable responses, and their wild tenacity that made them legendary. And, unbeknownst to ZYXTAL, humanity had established something called the United Earth Maintenance Fleet, staffed by only the most zealous and overqualified crew. The arrival of the fleet, the station's sensors pinged with an alarm as hundreds, then thousands, of signals breached the edge of crystalloid space. ZYXTAL watched in shock as an entire flotilla of human starships arrived, stretching beyond the range of the viewing panels. The sight was nothing short of bewildering. At the head of this chaotic assemblage was the flagship, a ship so heavily armored it seemed built for a war rather than maintenance. It bore a prominent insignia of Earth's flag, along with the name USS Leviathan stamped boldly along the hull. Aboard the Leviathan, Admiral Sarah O'Connor, the force behind the entire maintenance fleet, stood on the bridge with her hands clasped behind her back and a wild, triumphant grin on her face. "Admiral, we're now in range of Station 78 Delta," announced Lieutenant Chen, her tactical officer. "The crystalloids are hailing us several times." Sarah waved a dismissive hand. "Let 'em wait. Time for a proper entrance." Below her, the rookies of the maintenance fleet were prepped and armed with a variety of tools that most galaxies had never seen assembled all in one place: quantum plungers, graviton wrenches, localized singularity emitters, a repurposed weapon, technically, but who was counting, and a range of conventional weapons just in case. The maintenance fleet's motto was clear: prepare for anything. "Admiral," said Steve, the eager rookie engineer whose hair still had the faint smell of academy disinfectant. He barely contained his excitement. Already dressed in a reinforced utility suit, ready for orders. "Ma'am." "All right, crew." Sarah addressed the fleet with a voice that echoed through every comm line. "This crystalloid station has a clogged waste system. We don't know what we're going to find, but whatever it is, we'll fix it, we'll clean it, and if necessary, we'll neutralize it with extreme prejudice." Her gaze flicked towards Steve, who had been nervously adjusting the straps on his plasma pack. "Let's show them how Deathworlders handle a maintenance request." Cheers erupted across the fleet as thousands of humans stood to attention, grabbing tools, weapons, and gadgets that could probably dismantle half the galaxy if used improperly. The first encounter. Supreme Commander ZYXTAL stared at the display in confusion as the entire fleet of Earthships established orbit around their station. The crystalloids were a refined and deliberate species, known for calm assessments and logical responses. This, however, was something beyond their understanding. "Hail from Crystalloid Station 78 Delta, Supreme Commander ZYXTAL, Admiral O'Connor. May I ask, why has your entire fleet arrived?" Sarah gave a hearty laugh, her voice radiating confidence as she opened the channel, leaning back in her chair with an air of self-assured ease. "Supreme Commander, you called for maintenance, didn't you?" "Supreme Commander ZYXTAL, yes, indeed. But this is far beyond the anticipated response. We expected one, perhaps two, engineers, not an armada. We don't do things halfway, Commander," Sarah replied, her eyes glinting. Your waste system's down? Well, we'll have it back up and running in no time, no matter what it takes. Somewhere behind her, Steve was already prepping his quantum plunger, its energy coils humming with a low, ominous thrum. He tapped it against his leg, a bit too excited for what was supposed to be a simple job. "Let's get to work," Sarah commanded, and the fleet began its descent. As the docking clamps attached and the airlocks hissed open, the crystalloids witnessed humanity's entire maintenance fleet flooding into their station. Engineers, technicians, and combat specialists, all with gear that seemed more appropriate for an interstellar battlefield than a plumbing issue, moved in. Yet, just as they reached the waste reclamation system, Steve, first to breach the threshold, felt something strange. A faint, organic pulse resonated through the pipes, and from deep within, he heard an ominous rumbling. Admiral? Steve said, gulping as the pulse grew louder. I think there's something alive in there." Sarah's grin widened. "Now that sounds like a job for the United Earth Maintenance Fleet." The sentient clog. A tense silence fell over the maintenance team as Steve's words crackled through their calms. An entire station's waste system clogged by something that was alive? Even by human standards, this was unusual. Admiral Sarah O'Connor's grin only widened as she processed the potential. "Steve," she said, a gleam in her eyes, "give me a visual." With shaky hands, Steve aimed his helmet cam at the pulsating wall of sludge inside the waste reclamation system's main pipe. The dark, glistening muck squirmed and shifted, faintly illuminated by his helmet light. It looked like a massive, moving mass of sludge, but with something unsettling about it, like it was thinking, waiting. Suddenly, it moved. "Whoa!" Steve yelped, stumbling backward as the sludge surged forward, oozing down the pipe with a malevolent rhythm. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she watched the feed. "All right, looks like we're dealing with something beyond a routine clog. All units, listen up. This is now a level 3 biohazardous entity. Suit up, bring in the containment team, and prep the quantum plungers. We're going in." Supreme Commander ZYXTAL, Admiral O'Connor, please explain what exactly is going on in there? Admiral O'Connor, just a little complication. Commander, we'll handle it. Nothing to worry about. ZYXTAL's crystalline face seemed to flicker in confusion, but they gave a reluctant nod and cut the comms, clearly overwhelmed. Quantum plungers and a plan. Minutes later, the corridor near the waste reclamation system was packed with humanity's finest. Engineers, tactical operatives, and the legendary containment team assembled, each carrying specialized gear. "All right, folks," Sarah called over her fleet-wide comms as she stood with her hands on her hips, surveying the organized chaos. "Here's the plan, containment team, you're on the front lines. Steve, you and the rookies are going in with quantum plungers, and keep those localized singularity emitters handy if that thing tries to bolt. I want a gravity field tight enough to hold it in place. No one lets this thing breach." "Admiral," said Chen, her second in command, peering over her shoulder, "are we sure this thing's dangerous? I mean, it could just be alien sewage, right?" Sarah gave him a sideways grin. "Chun, never underestimate a Deathworlder clog. For all we know, it's sentient, and judging by its movement, I'd bet it's hostile too." At the front of the group, Steve stood shaking, the quantum plunger in his hands humming with an ominous energy. He was joined by a mix of rookies and battle-hardened engineers who clapped him on the shoulder, murmuring words of encouragement. Despite the fact that this was technically a maintenance job, the human team approached it with the same intensity they would for a full-scale assault. As the airlock hissed open, the containment unit moved into the waste reclamation system's entryway, lights casting eerie shadows on the walls and illuminating the pulsating sludge now slowly inching its way toward them. "Okay," Sarah's voice echoed through their headsets, firm and calm. "Containment team, engage." Battle with the bioclog. With the containment team taking point, a series of sonic and energy barriers erupted from their equipment, creating a grid of containment fields around the entity. It was time for the quantum plungers to shine. "Steve, you're up," Sarah's voice boomed, echoing through the comms. Steve, his eyes wide, moved forward with his plunger held high. He took a deep breath, then jammed it down into the edge of the entity, releasing a blast of energy that sent the sludge recoiling. But instead of dispersing, the clog seemed to gather itself, solidifying and sending out pseudopod-like tendrils that wrapped around his plunger, attempting to yank it out of his hands. "Hold it, Steve," Sarah shouted, as he struggled against the pull. Everyone, hit it with everything you've got. The team unleashed a coordinated volley of quantum plunger blasts, which crackled and sent arcs of energy across the sludge's surface. For a moment, it seemed to recoil, vibrating in frustration, but the entity quickly adapted, thickening its form until it was practically impervious. That's when Sarah gave the order she'd been waiting for. Deploy the localized singularity emitters. The engineers adjusted their emitters and hit the trigger. The machines spun to life, creating small, temporary gravity wells along the corridor. The entity tried to surge forward but was yanked backward, trapped within the gravitational forces that held it in a tight, invisible grip. The final flush. Supreme Commander ZYXTAL, watching from the security monitors, could hardly believe their faceted eyes as the humans continued their battle with the monstrosity clogging the station's waste systems. The sheer overkill of it, the plunger blasts, the containment fields, and now miniature black holes all in the name of maintenance, was beyond comprehension. Supreme Commander ZYXTAL, Admiral, your efforts are highly unconventional. Are you sure such force is necessary? Sarah grinned. Commander, we take maintenance very seriously. Don't worry, this baby's almost done. With the singularity emitters holding the entity in place, the team approached for one final effort. Steve, along with a seasoned engineer named Mac, took position with their quantum plungers charged to max capacity. On 3, Sarah commanded. 1, 2, 3. The team unleashed a synchronized blast of energy, the quantum plungers glowing bright as the energy coiled through the sludge, breaking it apart in a crackling display of power. The sentient clog shuddered, and with a groan that echoed through the station, it began to disintegrate, sloughing off into harmless particles that dissolved into vapor. Cheers erupted through the comms as the team disengaged their gear, and the containment fields faded. Steve and Mac high-fived, grinning and laughing with the adrenaline of the moment. Aftermath. As the cleanup crew cleared the area, Supreme Commander ZYXTAL reactivated the main channel, their voice full of bewilderment and, shockingly, a hint of admiration. Supreme Commander ZYXTAL, Admiral O'Connor, the Crystalloid High Command is astounded by your dedication to this maintenance request. You have truly exceeded all expectations. Sarah chuckled, brushing off a bit of stray sludge from her uniform. Commander, for humanity, even a clogged pipe is just another challenge worth going all in for. Supreme Commander ZYXTAL, we have noted this, and will remember it for all future requests. Back aboard the Leviathan, as the fleet prepared to depart, Sarah watched her crew, a proud smile on her face. They had shown the galaxy yet again that humanity did nothing halfway. Even a simple maintenance call was a job worth a fleet's attention. And as for the rest of the universe's clogged pipes, well, they'd better watch out because the Deathworlders were always ready to respond. With a satisfied salute to her crew, Admiral Sarah O'Connor leaned back, grinning at the stars ahead. All right, everyone, she said, onward to the next maintenance emergency. The aftermath of the clog. Admiral Sarah O'Connor watched with a sense of accomplishment as her fleet's ships slowly disengaged from the Crystalloid station. Maintenance tools and weapons were packed away, crew members were debriefed, and the stations began to settle back to their usual hum of activity. But even as the fleet prepared to head back, an urgent transmission interrupted the calm. Transmission to USS Leviathan, from Supreme Commander ZYXTAL. Subject: unusual energy signatures detected post-maintenance. Details: bioorganic particles found in waste system appear to be active and multiplying. Request assistance. Sarah blinked, staring at the message. Multiplying? She murmured, her interest immediately piqued. With a sigh that betrayed equal parts exhaustion and intrigue, she tapped her calm link. Chun, looks like we're not quite done yet. Re-engage the containment teams and have them prep for biohazard protocols. Let's go have a look. The team barely had time to stow their equipment before they were once again in motion, reboarding the Crystalloid station. But this time, they moved with caution. The waste system was silent, and a faint, organic hum now echoed through the pipes. Sarah, Chun, and Steve led the group, with everyone tense, aware that they might be dealing with something much more complex than a mere clog. The source of the problem. As they advanced down the corridors, the Crystalloid scientists joined them, trailing cautiously behind the humans. Supreme Commander ZYXTAL appeared especially unsettled, their crystalline features catching the light in a way that betrayed their nerves. Supreme Commander ZYXTAL, Admiral, our scans indicate that these bioorganic particles are bonding with our station's energy field. They're growing stronger. Could this be an experiment of yours? Sarah chuckled, shaking her head. If humanity experimented with sentient sludge, you'd be the first to know. Commander, let's hope it's just something we can scrub out. But as they reached the waste reclamation system, it was clear that scrubbing it out wasn't going to cut it. The sludge had spread throughout the system, merging with the station's energy grid, pulsating with a low, sinister glow. It was more than a clog now, it was evolving, fusing with the technology itself. Chen examined the readings, his face darkening. Admiral, this thing is learning. The system is amplifying it somehow. Steve shifted nervously, holding his quantum plunger like a security blanket. Should we just, plunge it again? Sarah smirked, then glanced thoughtfully at the data. We might need something with a little more firepower. Looks like it's time for some creative engineering. Part 10, Enter the nanoflare and the AI containment team. Sarah quickly ordered her chief engineers to assemble a specialized containment team, equipped with newly designed nanoflares, small, controlled energy bursts designed to disrupt bioorganic matter without harming the station's systems. Alongside them, she deployed Charlie 9, an AI unit known for adapting to unknown variables and maintaining strict containment in complex environments. As Charlie 9's humanoid figure moved silently down the corridor, the crystalloids looked on in awe. They had rarely seen an AI move with such precision and autonomy. Supreme Commander ZYXTAL's sensors whirred in fascination as Charlie 9 communicated with the fleet, executing strategies that required both finesse and brute force. All right, Charlie 9, Sarah commanded. We've got a sludge learning problem. Contain it, isolate it, and find out where it's drawing power from. Charlie 9's voice was calm, mechanical, yet somehow charismatic. Affirmative, Admiral. Initiating scan and containment. The AI scanners flashed, creating a 3D hologram of the entire waste reclamation system. Nanoflares launched, igniting portions of the sludge with pinpoint accuracy, yet avoiding the system's crucial wiring. The sludge recoiled and hissed, writhing as it attempted to slink away from the bursts of light and energy. A galactic mystery. As Charlie 9's containment fields locked the creature in place, it began to shift, its texture rippling in strange, coherent patterns. Suddenly, Chen noticed something disturbing on his scanner. Admiral, these energy signatures match records of an ancient, unclassified alien species. These patterns, they're a form of communication. Sarah's eyebrows shot up. Communication? You mean this sludge is trying to talk? It's possible, Admiral, Chen replied, his face tense. This might not be just an accidental clog. If it's intelligent and trying to reach out to us, this could be part of something larger, maybe even part of an unknown life form's reproductive cycle or an abandoned experiment. Sarah leaned in, studying the writhing mass that pulsed behind the containment fields. The crystalloid scientists were muttering among themselves, clearly intrigued but hesitant. All right, Sarah said, open a calm channel. Let's see if this thing has something to say. After a few seconds, a strange, echoing hum filled their earpieces. At first, it was garbled, a series of low vibrations and sharp clicks, but then, slowly, words began to form. Bioentity, you, trespass, here, your energy, sustains us, we, evolve, you, must leave. The entire team froze, even Charlie 9's LED eyes flickered briefly, as though it, too, was startled. Supreme Commander ZYXTAL took a cautious step back. Sarah, ever the bold leader, smirked. Listen up, sludge, we don't back down from a challenge, and we definitely don't back down from maintenance requests. Either you're leaving this station, or we'll make you leave. The sludge emitted a low rumble that resonated through the walls, rattling pipes and vibrating through the team's bones. Bioentity, then, we, fight. With that, the sludge erupted, straining against Charlie 9's containment fields, pushing back against the nanoflares. The crystalloids gasped, their crystalline bodies shimmering with distress. This wasn't just a clog, it was a galactic-level threat that could consume the station if it wasn't stopped. Humanity's last-ditch solution. Shun, Steve, everyone, fall back, Sarah ordered, as the sludge surged forward, testing every containment measure they had. This thing wants a fight? We're going to give it one. Quickly strategizing, Sarah's mind raced through Earth's arsenal of experimental weapons. Aboard the Leviathan, deep in storage, Was one final measure a prototype weapon that could temporarily disrupt any energy field? Chun, we're deploying the EMP. Alpha cannon, target it at the core of that sludge, and be ready to power down the entire station for a reboot. We need to drain its energy source and take it out in one strike. The Leviathan's crew prepared the cannon, aiming its massive barrel directly at the station. Inside, the team braced themselves. If this failed, they might unleash something far worse. Fire, Sarah ordered. A burst of pure, white energy erupted from the cannon, smashing through the station's shields and piercing directly into the heart of the sludge. For a split second, everything was silent. Still, then, with a roar that echoed through every corridor, the sludge began to dissolve, its energy sapped, its body collapsing into harmless particles. As the light faded, Sarah allowed herself a relieved smile. The threat was neutralized, and Station 78 Delta would finally be clog-free. Farewell, for now. As the crew packed up and prepared to leave once more, Supreme Commander ZYXTAL approached Admiral O'Connor, their crystalline face showing something between awe and disbelief. Supreme Commander ZYXTAL, Admiral, the Crystalloid High Command is, once again, indebted to your kind. We cannot fathom the methods your people employ, but we cannot argue with the results. Sarah chuckled, dusting off her uniform. You call, we answer. Commander, that's the Deathworlder way. Supreme Commander ZYXTAL, perhaps, we shall rethink the extent of future maintenance requests, but know this, you have earned our respect, and our gratitude. As the Leviathan prepared to depart, Sarah looked over her crew with pride. They had taken on the unexpected, the impossible, and somehow made it look like just another day's work. With a final salute to the station, the United Earth Maintenance Fleet took off, ready for whatever ridiculous and unpredictable challenge the galaxy might throw at them next. And Sarah couldn't wait.